The Sixers currently stand on top of the Eastern Conference, a game and a half ahead of the Bucks, and with a revamped roster and a new coach, it might be surprising to you that they gelled so quickly. This team is still a bit of a mystery despite having two All-Stars, including an MVP candidate, but it's time to go through the footage to find out what everyone is asking. Are the Philadelphia 76ers for real? When looking at this team, the place to start is obviously Joel Embiid. He's averaging a career high in points, and based on how few minutes he's playing, it's even more amazing how much he's dominating. He's also at a career high in three-point shooting, making him truly an impossible player to guard. Down low in the post, he utilizes the face-up most of the time, and the prospect of trying to stay in front of such a mobile yet large body means you're going to get posterized if you're not careful. He's got all manner of shake and fake and two dribble drives to get into the lane with the dexterity to spin back around and then smosh it all over you. Check the jab, then ever so slight lean back to the left before exploding baseline with the rocker step. He need only point his shoulder into the chest of the defender and finish strong. His back to the basket game is where we get to see even more skill and footwork. It's rare to see such a powerful big man also have the shooting touch to be able to fade away and look like a guard as he softly drops in the shot. And if you send a double team, it doesn't matter much as he calmly fakes the turnaround, then steps through in between the defenders, legally lifting off one foot to finger roll this one in. But here's where it's unfair. That soft jumper we just saw is a serious weapon on the face-up. Most defenders want to avoid the poster for sure, so they give him an extra step, and he's been scorching for the mid-range all season long. Aside from Nikola Jokic, we've never seen such a big player display power and footwork and shooting touch all the way out to the three-point line like Embiid is doing now. Never. The starting lineup of Embiid, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, Seth Curry, and Danny Green are killing it this year. They rank third in net rating amongst all lineups with at least 200 minutes played. And when they're not funneling the ball down low to Embiid in the half court almost every time, it's Ben Simmons pushing the ball up the court and finding three-point shooters. The pressure of Simmons bearing down on the basket, alongside Joel Embiid running the lane, is clearly too much for the defense to handle on a fast break as they continually collapse into the paint, allowing Seth Curry to find the openings from behind the arc and wait till Simmons finds him with a nice pass. I particularly like the blind dump off to the trailing Curry here, who's shooting a ridiculous 49% from behind the arc. But it's not just Curry. Simmons is an equal opportunity transition three-point assister, as he finds threes for everybody in the starting lineup as Danny Green waltzes to the open position and lets it fire off the catch. Tobias Harris gets the most threes in this manner, and they tend to be the most open, as Simmons does a lot of the work to threaten the defense before finding him wide open on easy shots like this one from the corner. The league is still not used to the trailing big man coming down and letting it fly from behind the arc, and Embiid is benefiting greatly from even the slowest of transitions down the court from Simmons, who needs only flip the ball back to Joel for wide open and in-rhythm shots from deep. The transition attack is the best way to get an open shot, and it's a time saver over the boring half-court sets where we have to wait for cutters and ball screeners, and it's exactly the kind of time saving you'll get from Blinkist, helping you absorb more nonfiction books from cover to cover. They've got tons of books that are condensed into just 15 minutes so you can quickly absorb the information. Plus, they've got a whole library of full-length audiobooks. I'm listening to Dr. J right now, and there are so many other resources for coaches on Blinkist, like Playing Their Hearts Out and Furious George. The first 100 people to go to Blinkist.com/BBALLBREAKDOWN are going to get unlimited access for 1 week to try it out. You'll also get 25% off if you want the full membership. And we can get back to understanding how Tobias Harris has emerged as their third weapon on offense, and he's been doing a nice job as their second leading scorer by using the pick and roll to get to his mid-range game across the court. He's always been good at finding open spots on the floor once he gets separation from his man off the ball screen, but it is of note that he almost never generates threes from this action, just the jumpers by hopping into that dreaded mid-range that the analytics folks want to avoid. One set they love to run for him is horns, where they put Harris on the elbow and run the ball screen for him there, where he can turn the corner before pulling up for the sweet-looking jumper. He saved the day against the Lakers and can be a secondary go-to guy down the stretch if Embiid isn't cooking or can't get the ball. The principal ball handler in the pick and roll for the Sixers overall, however, doesn't start for them. By looking at the incredible stats from our friends over at Instat, you can see that Shake Milton has emerged this season as their go-to guy for the most ball screens. And he, like Tobias, utilizes the mid-range shot more than anything. Milton isn't going to set guys up in the pick and roll. His primary job is to score in this action, but it gives me some pause that a team competing for the upper echelon of the Eastern Conference doesn't really have a guard that either can score from 3 out of the pick and roll or generate good shots for teammates in the most popular action NBA teams run across the board. But that isn't what gives me the most concern about this team. If you scan the major stats, there isn't a ton of difference in the rankings from last year except for pace, where Doc has gotten this team to push the ball a lot faster. The problem is, they're ranked a very mediocre 17th in transition efficiency, which is a bump from their 22nd rank last year, but if they can't take better advantage, why increase the frequency? There has been no shortage of Ben Simmons takes out there, and I myself have been all over the place with how I feel about him, primarily because I was sure he continued to improve year over year, but sadly, this has not been the case. While he is listed as a lefty, his finishing moves around the hoop with that hand is suboptimal at best, and it just looks like it's his offhand. But I'm warning you, the next series of clips are going to be NSFB, not suitable for basketball. And man, buckle up, it's a wild ride. You can glean a lot from a player by how they execute moves around the basket and how the ball misses. And these are just doozies, as he insists on shooting balls with his right hand despite it not being the smoothest or easiest way to finish the shot. He lacks visual recognition of what the defense is doing, and as a result, sometimes appears surprised at how they reacted to defend him, leaving him off balance, twisted, and awkward. The very real danger for the Sixers is that they rely on him in the half court to create offense, and perhaps due to a lack of practice time, they don't run a whole lot of pattern sets. And the adjustment defenses will make is, 1, sag way off him knowing he can't shoot it from outside of 10 feet, and 2, not help on his drive in order to prevent him from kicking it out for assists. After all, if he struggles like this, then teams will be more than happy to defend him with one defender and try and shut down all passes to the shooters on the perimeter. In the half court, I was trying to figure out how Simmons helps the offense considering his lack of a good finishing package. And when I studied his assists, something interesting emerged. He seems to get an inordinate amount of assists on kickouts after offensive rebounds, when the defense has gotten scrambled and he can just find an easy pass to a shooter for a knockdown shot. While these passes are valuable, it's not like he's breaking down the defense, collapsing them into the paint, and creating easy shots. This season, he's also getting a number of assists when he makes a pass and the receiver ends up doing all the work, hitting incredibly difficult shots that had little to do with Simmons' pass. Again, I wouldn't bring this up if it hadn't happened so many times. Mind you, these are all assists by definition, but man, these are tough shots. The best thing Simmons does in the half court for them is posting up, as a passer. He does have good vision and a willingness to whip the ball out to the open shooters, and they found success here all across the perimeter. But his lack of finishing moves on drives, like I showed, also translates to his post-up game. He doesn't have much in the way of moves besides a simple drop step into a jump hook, which can be effective at times, but there are plenty of examples of all sorts of wild misses in this area too. And I imagine defenses will continue to adjust to this and simply not help out at all. Just play them one-on-one and take their chances that they'll get a miss like this. Now, it wouldn't be a big problem to post Simmons up, but remember, they've got the best post player in the league already in Embiid. What's even crazier is I found some possessions of 3 out, 2 in, a high school power offense I haven't seen since the 90s, where they post Embiid up first, and if he can't get a shot, the ball reverses to a post up for Simmons on the other side. I have no idea if this is a good thing or not, but it was like going back in a time machine to a completely different era of basketball when Doc Rivers himself was playing. I've always felt that a player like Simmons should be getting tons of handoffs into the middle out of pistol action so he can use his strength and speed to get to the front of the rim and find the shooters or finish strong with a dunk. However, this has almost never happened this season so far, and I can only hope Doc adds this to their offense sooner than later to make Simmons a more viable threat in the half court. Of course, the free throw issue is also very real. To his credit, he's shooting a career high at the line, but it's low enough that teams will surely be willing to foul him down the stretch of crucial games in a playoff series. His shot is what we call two motion, because the ball pauses as the legs straighten before his arms go into the release of the ball. There is no energy transfer from the legs, requiring all the power to come from the elbow and wrist extension. Also notice that his wrist does not flex all the way, leading to all sorts of inconsistencies with the wrist that throw off the power calibration. He gets a weird rotation on the ball as well, and it just leads to a lot of misses. On defense, he's been terrific, leading me to coin a new type of player. We all know about the 3 and D. Well, Simmons is a D and A, or maybe it's an A and D, assists and defense. And this is where he's most valuable to the team. He can guard all 5 positions and expends a lot of energy and focus to pressure the ball and cause havoc across the court. But the key is Embiid's mobility and drop coverage of the pick and roll. With Ben chasing the ball and Embiid containing both the drive and the roll man, offenses have a hard time getting good shots off. Again, the second you think you've got Embiid screened out of the way on deep penetration, he can step around and get in the air quick, even against LeBron James' layup, to swat it away easily. When they do try and slip the pass to the roll man, Embiid has got quick hands and reads offenses well. The drop coverage has worked well by encouraging the inefficient mid-range shots that they themselves get on purpose, and it does serve to help Embiid avoid fouls. Another asset on defense is Matisse Thybulle. He brings the energy on this end of the floor and has shown an elusiveness in the pick and roll where he doesn't get screened off and can maintain ball pressure. With his 6'11" wingspan, he can afford to go underneath screens and be right on top of his man to prevent the shot. And with Dwight Howard also playing drop coverage, more inviting of the mid-range out of the high pick and roll. And if Thybulle does get beat, he never gives up pursuit. Again, his long arms coming in handy on this back tap into a steal. I particularly like his penchant for pressuring shooters from behind. I've spoken to a couple of NBA shooters, and this type of contest bothers them the most. Is this Sixers team for real? When you analyze their schedule, they only have one quality win against the top opponent so far, and have been feasting on some struggling teams. When you consider their overall rankings in key categories aren't that much different than last year, it seems reasonable to assume they'll drift back down to the vicinity where they were last year, when they won 59% of their games and finished 6th in the conference. I don't think that they'll fall that low, and with an MVP candidate in Joel Embiid, he's got the ability to carry a team in a playoff series to victory. But the guy they rely on most to run pick and rolls comes off the bench and mostly generates mid-range shots. Their starting point guard cannot shoot at all, struggles at the rim. Their main defensive stopper has lost 2 steps and has gotten absolutely lit up a few times this year already with a variety of blow-bys and easy shots. And this team is almost last in 3-point frequency despite adding 2 marksmen during the offseason. All these things indicate a second-round exit in the playoffs, unless Doc can get some more practice time and make some major adjustments. Make sure to follow me over on the Locker Room app, where I do a radio show every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific and every Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific, and you can call in and discuss anything you'd like. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can continue to get our great content as soon as it drops. After all, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in?